everyone, and welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy. I'm Dr. Beverly, your host, and our special guest today is Takara Shalor. She is a spiritual treasure hunter. She's going to talk to us today about intuition as a superpower in life and business. She is the best known for helping authors become bestsellers and individuals to experience profound personal transformation so they can achieve their dreams. She is known as the spiritual treasure hunter, and for nearly 3 decades, she's helped thousands of people from over 100 countries discover the diamonds and gold within, their unique gifts and talents, their intuitive abilities, their passion, their purpose, and their joy. She is a 4-time best-selling author, speaker, engineer, alchemist, and mystic. Wow, welcome, Takara.
Hi.
That's quite a bio and quite a background. And how many books have you written?
Oh, I've written a lot of books. I have written a lot of books, but four became bestsellers. Um, but I'm writing currently about eight, um, for real. And they are each of them about 80% finished. So
Wow.
I anticipate doing a whole series of, launching. So yeah, I've been
Wow.
working on some material for quite a while.
That's awesome. So tell us about your personal journey, how you got started, and why this is your passion.
So the way that I got started is that, first of all, I mean, it's sort of multifaceted, as most people's journeys are, right? But when I was 14, I had a mystical encounter with the divine, what some would call the Holy Spirit or Shekinah. I was in a church and with a bunch of other people, and this dove of light descended from the ceiling.
Hmm.
And along with this dove of light, this tsunami of energy came through the space that knocked us off of our feet onto the ground, and we couldn't speak. And literally from that moment on, I saw with new eyes and heard with new ears. But when you're 14 in a
Yeah.
spiritual, like in a religious community, they don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
When you've had a real calling, they don't know
Yeah.
what to do with you. They, if you were in a tribe, they would know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
You got hit by cosmic lightning, you're going to be a medicine man or medicine woman,
Right. Or
whatever
Sean.
that's called in their
Yeah.
tradition. And they would train you from that second forward in how to hold the frequencies, how to get rid of your crap, how to be that person you were intended to be. And I didn't have that background. I didn't have those people around me, as most people in Western society don't,
Right.
right? And so I did what most people who were in that same experience did. And we, closed our eyes. We left the church. We partied. We whatever, we did whatever we could do, because when the dove disappeared, so did the energy. Like we literally felt the presence of God. And then we felt the lack of the presence of God. I
Yeah.
still to this day can't walk in that building because it feels so empty. It brings tears to my eyes.
Oh, wow.
So, and this is like 20 years later, I ended up moving back to the same small town where that happened. So anyway, that's that. So that happened when I was 14, but then you have to fast forward until I was 33, because I wandered in the wilderness, in the darkness. I pursued business. I pursued, my college career. I was president of the Institute of Industrial Engineers student chapter. And then in industry, I was the only female manager at a pharmaceutical company. I was like climbing the corporate ladder, kicking butt and taking names and, really shining in that arena, because that's what it's the great American dream to have all the stuff,
Yeah.
the great cars, the cute guy, the, jet setting lifestyle, the limo rides, the, flying on Lear jets. I did all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was drowning. I mean, drowning. I was, like I said, the only female manager in a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility. They were implementing a new computer program on the factory floor, and it was my job to implement it on the floor. So every 5 minutes, somebody called my name over the intercom, and I had to like walk briskly because you're not allowed to run, but I had to get there as fast as you could because the entire production for the day hinged on my decisions that I made in those moments. And the stress was ridiculous. And because I grew up in a very oppressive, religious, I got spanked all too often kind of background, you learn to please people. And I was terrified of messing up. I had to be perfect. There was all this, psychological crap going on. Eventually you hit the wall. And then I literally went over. I went over the wall on stress. And in that moment of I couldn't handle it anymore, what came spilling out not only was, okay, I'm a mess and this stress is killing me, but memories of being raped surfaced in that moment. So I'm 33, lying on the ground in the fetal position, remembering that I'd been raped, in that moment changed my life. And what I started feeling, I was angry, I was sad, I was afraid, I was feeling all these things that I'd never felt before, ever. And I realized in the moment that if these are part of who I am, then I don't know myself at all. And so I just immediately just dove really, really deep into studying and going to New Age bookstores and having sessions and taking classes. And, I read like 300 books in 2 years.
Yeah.
I took, I had a teacher who I went and saw like weekly, and we did energy healing sessions and chakra balancing and past life regressions. And, thank heavens for this lady, because she helped put me back together. I was drawn to Stuart Wilde's material. And so I read all his books. I did his 8-Day Warrior in the Mist training. So, I dove all in because I was so unhappy. I wanted desperately for my life to change.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started.
It's amazing to me how similar our stories are.
Yeah.
I was a software engineer and became an executive. It's all very similar. I didn't have the dove experience. I had spontaneous shamanic journeys and,
Right.
yeah. And so many of us on this path have similar kind of stories.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. And that really does create a passion within us to help people.
Well, it does. I mean, I didn't want other people to finish answering that other question that I basically forgot to finish answering. I found happiness. I found joy. I found centered and balanced and peaceful, no matter what's going on. And I knew what it was like to live the other way.
And it didn't matter how big your house was.
No, I mean, but I kind of like both,
Yeah,
I kind of like, I want to be centered and balanced. And I am adamant about policing my energy and not letting in things that are detrimental and taking downtime and meditating daily and all that stuff. But I like the fancy trips and the fancy cars. And, it's like, I believe we can have both, but there has to be balance, Yeah. So anyway, continue. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I interrupted you. No, that's fine. So you've helped so many people, hundreds of people all over the world. So what is the primary struggle you see or pattern amongst those people?
They don't know who they are.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's
They don't know who they are. They when they show up at my door on the internet or on my website or however they find me or they're, referred to me or however they end up in my sphere, they're usually unhappy. They're usually struggling. They're usually, they know there's more to life, but they just don't know how to find it. They don't know how to feel good. They've been beaten down somehow. Could be relationship, could be financially, could be in their health, and maybe they grew up in a not great environment. And so they're dealing with feeling less than, or maybe they grew up in a religious experience, which also they may feel less than, especially if they're female. And so, they're people that on the outside, they may look like they're happy, but they know inside that they're not. And they're seekers, they're seeking, that's the reason I love the word mystic, because they're seekers of truth and enlightenment. I mean, that's, kind of the definition. And so it's people really wanting to change, and they know there's another way. And sometimes they come in because they want to know more about this whole new age energy healing, metaphysical kind of stuff. But really underneath it all, they really want their life to change, and they want to find their joy, and they want to find what they're here for. What's their mission, their true, divine mission. And
Soul
so,
purpose. Yeah.
yeah. But when you don't know who you are, you don't realize you're a spark of divinity having a human experience. You don't see your brilliance or magnificence or any of that.
Or how powerful you are.
Right. You don't know that your power, you don't know that you are love incarnate. You don't know,
Yeah.
these things, then you're sort of lost. And people tend to end up in crappy relationships, or they're unhappy at work, or they're struggling like really emotionally. And it's, yeah, that's what I see a lot of.
Yeah, I agree. I do too. So, how has doing this work and helping them impacted you personally?
Well, I mean, my greatest joy is seeing someone else blossom.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen so many people, like I've had some pretty extraordinary healing experiences where a woman from Toronto, I wasn't even doing private sessions at the time. I'd had a baby and I was teaching some classes out of a little new age bookstore there. But this woman had suddenly gone blind.
Mm.
Doctors said there was no way to heal it. And she was very mainstream. She wasn't into new age anything, but she was desperately seeking answers. And so she walked into this new age bookstore in Ajax, Ontario. And the woman there is highly intuitive. And she said, she just took one look at her and listened to her story. And she said, you need to talk to Takara. And so the lady at the store called me and she said, I'm referring someone to you. And I'm like, okay. Okay. Like I'd been doing all kinds of private sessions before that, but at the time, because I was a new mom, I wasn't. And so this woman came over and she sat down and I was guided to ask her specific questions. But whatever energy I was pulling through me, because I'm a chalice of divine frequencies, I bring in energies in all these different frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever was coming through me, the perfect cocktail for her in the moment, was so intense for her that she kept having to go to the bathroom. And I don't know if she was throwing up or having diarrhea, but one of those two things was happening
Purging.
again and again and again, because
Yeah.
her body was purging this disharmonious stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so she came back, and after about an hour and a half of me just asking her questions and her having to, she was in the bathroom more than she talked to me, for real. But that night, I was sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden, this massive tsunami of energy came through. And I was burning up, sweating like crazy, And so I pick up my pendulum because I'm all about dowsing. And I was like, okay, is this energy for me? No. Is this energy for my family? No. Is this energy for someone I know? Yes. Is it that woman that came here earlier today? Yes. 2 days later, I get a phone call from this woman. She's like, it makes me cry. You're not going to believe what happened. That night, when all this was happening for me, she's like, I heard this giant pop in my head and I could see perfectly.
Wow.
And she said, yesterday I went to the doctor to just have my vision checked. And she said, it's 2020. Like things happen. So, when we're a vessel, when we show up and we say, I'm here in service. Yes, I'd like to be taken care of. Yes, I want this lovely car. Yes, I want to, not to struggle or anything, but I'm really here in service. You just are a conduit. You're just a vessel. And in the moment, the stuff comes through. So I started telling this story, and now I'm buzzing all over because similar energies coming through me to bathe your readers or listeners, in. So I don't even remember what the real question was.
That's okay. I can feel the energy myself. So yeah,
I love it when that
similar
happens.
things happen to me too. I mean, every time I teach a class, I'm getting new energies to give
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
That's why we're here, because we can
Mhm.
bring it in and then we share it.
Exactly.
And then my goal is to help people learn how to do that for themselves.
Yes,
Of course,
of
that's through
course.
meditation.
Absolutely.
So do you have any more examples like that of well,
Spontaneous healing.
it's
Well,
hard to top that blindness and
no, that, that literally blind can see, that's pretty intense.
yeah.
Um, what I have more often than that, because I don't usually work with people for physical issues either.
Right. Yeah.
Mostly help people with their emotional stuff and to remember their truth, or remember their power, remember their purpose.
Hmm.
find their joy, really raise their vibration, and just step into their true empowerment and highest potential. Like that's really what I do. So I don't really work with pain and physical stuff so much. What more often happens is that people hang out with me. They might be in my Sacred Circle, which is a membership program, or they do, private sessions, or they, however it is, but they hang out with me more than once, okay, in person, like through video or in a live one-on-one, in-person thing. Their intuitive gifts turn on. Like suddenly they can hear clairaudiently. That's happened multiple times. And it doesn't just turn on when they're in my presence, it turns on and they have it now.
Yeah.
They have it. So the gifts that I've turned on and activated, because I'm that, it's like a tuning fork. You tap this tuning fork and the other tuning forks ring. So when people hang out with me, they listen to my voice, they feel the energies that I bring through, it starts awakening their gifts. That's part of why I call it the treasure hunting, the spiritual treasure hunting, because I'm helping awaken all of these latent abilities that are there already.
Yeah. And people just don't realize that they've got many, many gifts, because you get, many lifetimes, and you get new gifts every time. And then we're in such a special time now with so many incredible energies coming through that anybody can wake up now and find all their gifts. That's
right.
One of the things I like right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's, some people get into the fear and this, and it's scary, and there's so much change happening, and that's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. But when you really see the bigger picture and what's happening, it's like a mass awakening. It's like I liken it to popping corn. Like they're popping everywhere.
Yeah. So many people are waking up now. It's really awesome. So, do you have some special techniques that you use, or is it just a matter of bringing in the right energies in the moment, or how do you work?
Well, there's a yes and yes. So what happens for me is, I've worked on myself every day, all the time for almost 30 years, So when I say that I'm the chalice of divine frequencies and these energies come in, I'm not kidding. Like that, I'm accessing so many dimensions and so many frequencies, and I truly am an alchemist, and I have a whole product line of energy healing products. So part of what happens is people start telling me their story or telling me what they're facing right now. And as I tune into that, I'm shown what they need. Now, some of that is stuff that I may have been trained in, like I've studied extensively shamanism. I've studied extensively all the work of Stuart Wilde. I did a lot of work with him. Jonathan Goldman, he's a world-renowned sound healing pioneer and, very famous as a sound healer. He and I are very dear friends, and I've taken many, many, many of his courses, so I have all this sound healing background and all of that. So some of it is stuff that I've learned that I'm guided to do, but I also have these innate gifts. Like you said, lifetime after a lifetime, we master things. We might be a high priestess of this, or we might have been initiated into this particular order, or we might have received these kind of spiritual trainings or, energy or healing trainings, and we have access to that stuff. So when I was first introduced to crystals, I instantly knew, like we were doing crystal layouts in a weekend workshop I was taking. And, that we had just been introduced, like, just feel it and see what you think. And then they had us doing layouts on people. And I just knew, this crystal needed to go here. And I knew this crystal needed to go there. And the other people in my little group, they just backed up and let me do it. And I was amazed, and they weren't offended or anything. We all were practicing and sharing, and we all got to play. But it's a gift I have. I've always had this thing with crystals, and I also channeled
like this.
Yeah, I have they're all around. I have this giant one sitting here on my desk. Like,
that's on my desk.
I know. It's like, but
they're all over my house.
I also have cats, so I have to be careful what I have right here, because I don't want things like, spilling and whatever.
Yeah.
But, there's all these crystals, but and I'm sure you're probably like this when you have a communication with crystals, and if you're clairsentient and you feel, right? Or they call to you if you're clairaudient. You just, from across a room, you can be 2 aisles over, but you look over at a booth and you can see the crystal from there, you know? I wear this necklace, this dolphin necklace. I wear it all the time. I can't see,
Yeah, I
my
see it.
dolphin necklace.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Sterling silver, blue topaz. I saw this necklace 2 aisles over because the lady I was working with, who was, you know, when I was first spiritually awakening, she said, you need a talisman. And I was like, what does that mean? And she said, it's a symbol of your spiritual journey. And that same day, I was planning to go to this juried art event, you know, at a big place in Pennsylvania. They were doing an outdoor like art thing, but all of it was juried. So it was really high-end, beautiful stuff, jewelry, paintings, this sort of thing. And I went there knowing I was looking for a talisman. And from 2 aisles over, I saw this, you know, because dolphins came to me in meditation when I first learned to meditate, and their energy and their alchemy and their healing abilities, I've worked with that for decades, literally. And so this dolphin thing really represents my journey, because I'm sort of a mer woman, if you will. Yeah. And so it's about emotion and fluidity and learning to flow with life instead of against the tide. And yeah.
I think that's one of the things that drew our souls together. I took an intuition class at Esalen taught by a rather famous person, but I won't name her. And she had us write our name on a piece of paper and seal it in an envelope and then passed them out. And I got myself and didn't know it. And I did a reading. And it told me how close I was to dolphins. And it said, be very careful to not go near water, though, because it's dangerous for you. And sure enough, when I found out it was me, I've almost died 4 times. I've almost drowned. I've almost died more than that. But I've almost drowned twice in the ocean. And so, yeah, I don't go scuba diving anymore. Not scuba dive, snorkeling. I used to go. Yeah, I don't go snorkeling anymore or anything. But yeah, I've always felt so close to dolphins and to whales, especially the sperm whale. He's one of my power animals. So they're just such magical creatures.
They really are. And when I was going through that experience of waking up spiritually, when I remembered rape and all of that, that is when the dolphins came in and they rescued me emotionally. Absolutely. And what the visions I was having were about was, at first I was just seeing them jumping and frolicking and bringing joy. That brought joy, you know. But as every time I was closing my eyes, I was seeing dolphins. And eventually it was me to belly with a dolphin, and then torpedoing me through the water like spinners, you know, spinners spin. I was belly to belly with a dolphin, horizontal in the water, and just going freaking fast.
Wow.
And it was just shedding all this emotional pain. That the visual and the energy that came with it was just massive.
They're great healers, aren't they?
Oh yeah. Fabulous for energy healing. And I mean, and other levels of healing too. You know, a lot of people that work with dolphins and dolphin consciousness and dolphin energetics work with the dolphins of Sirius. Okay. And that is not the dolphins I work with. I don't even actually, I don't really resonate with them actually. The dolphins that I work with are from a very, very high level of Arcturus. And so I call them dolphin angels, or I call them diamond star dolphins. Okay, those are the 2 names that I use for them, because they are very different in consciousness and ability and the information. They just feel very different, you know. So I work with dolphins all the time, etherically. Not necessarily. I mean, they come to me when I'm by the ocean. They come usually within 5 minutes. And I lived in the San Juans where the orcas live. Okay, so I went up there and started a nonprofit for dolphins and whales many years ago. So I developed this deep connection with orcas, which is a whole different energy.
Yeah, it's a different
orcas are incredibly intense and incredibly powerful. And so it's about empowerment. when you really start tapping into orca energy, it's very much about stepping into your power, being uplifted. But yeah, so
They're
they
more
can do
young.
amazing things, huh?
They're more young.
Oh, very,
Yours are more
very, very young, very young. Where dolphins are much more playful and sweet, like the ones in the water. It's all about joy. It's all about being on the surface. They don't dive real deep. They hang out on the surface and they frolic and they play and they make love and they have babies and they cuddle and they wrap around each other. There's a lot of tactile. They rub each other a lot, right? They're very sensual dolphins, and it's very playful, and it's much more yin. But when you get into orca power, they are the wolves of the ocean, which I'm also connected to wolves. And it's just about power. It's about knowing who you are and standing in your truth and just feeling it and being solid in that. And it's great. It's really wonderful.
Wow, that's really awesome. So people can feel that energy when you're around them, that
Yeah.
that bringing in of the joy. Um, so give us an example of intuition as a superpower in business.
So remember I mentioned that Jonathan Goldman and I are good friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and his wife Andy as well. She is an amazing lady, and we're all very close. When I lived in Santa Fe and ran a shamanic healing center there was a shamanic. I can't remember the actual title, but every couple of years they did a huge shamanic conference there with all the big names in shamanism would come and give talks. And in this particular, they also did a sound healing conference like that too. And so Jonathan and Andy were down from Boulder, Colorado, which is where they live. They were down in Santa Fe for this sound healing conference because Jonathan was one of the major speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I had been trying for a long time to do this collaboration, which I'm going to show you. This is one of the things we've done, but this is called the Essence of Sound. This is the chakra kit that we put together.
Ah.
Okay. So we've been trying to work out the details, and so we were infusing his music and his sacred sounds into my dancing dolphin oils, which have their whole own alchemy of energy healing, right? We've been talking about doing this collaboration. And so I just knew that if I didn't see him while he was there, it was going to be years again before we worked out the details. And so I just said that to the universe. I was like, if I don't see him this weekend when he's freaking here in town, and I wasn't angry. I was just saying it emphatically. There was a sureness. There was and as soon as I stopped with that level of clarity, as soon as I stopped speaking the words that I needed to say, I want to see the two of them this weekend. I want to get this handled, right? As soon as I finished that, I heard go now. I'm like, oh, like right now? Oh crap. Okay. So I took my kid, who was quite small, put him in the, car seat, ran to Santa Fe. We were like 20 minutes north of town. This big, this big sound healing conference was going on. My husband, I've only had one and we're not together anymore, but he was helping with the conference. So, I parked the car, I went into the gorgeous, gorgeous hotel where they hold these things. And I went up to the booth that was like people checking in for the conference. And I was just like, has anybody seen my husband? And I said his name, and, they're like, I think he's, and they were trying to figure out where he was. And right in that moment, I just looked over. Again, I'm going to cry. Jonathan Goldman is standing in the door between, where I am and the bookstore that they have. And so I just, oh, okay, well, here we are. He's right there. Let's go. So I walk over, we embrace, and we just together walk around the bookstore. And in less than 5 minutes, all the details were done for this collaboration.
Wow.
Because I heard go now. And because I had great clarity about what it is I wanted. I mean, that's also part of it. When you give clear direction to the universe and say, this is what I need, the universe delivers. But if you have all these wishy-washy, I think I want this and I maybe want that, but I'm not really sure. If you do all that, you don't get clear, results either. So yeah, but that one, it literally, 30 minutes maybe from driving and getting there and doing the deal, crazy.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences. That's how it works when you're on the right path. It's
Yeah.
just crazy how it works. It's you know, they call them miracles or synchronicity, and you never really get used to it. You just live in gratitude. Oh, wow, it happened again. Oh, wow, it happened again. It's
Right.
like every
Yeah,
time is like, oh, wow.
exactly. I call it living in awe.
Yeah, okay, that's a
Every
good.
day, every moment, there's these awe-inspiring things that happen, and you're just like, wow, how
Oh,
cool is
that
that?
happened again.
Yeah.
So, so you feel that there's 11 or more different forms of intuition, and you feel the most beneficial is a superpower for living. So what is that, and
Right.
why do you feel that way?
So there's 11 or more different, they've given all these names to the different types of intuition, but
Mm,
one of them is the one that's really a superpower for manifesting, for having these amazing, miraculous things happen. And
mhm.
that one is claircognizance, just knowing, that inner knowing things that there's no reason you should know this, like go now, right? I just knew that I absolutely positively in that moment had to go, right? Now, I don't often hear, which is clairaudient, but I do feel all the time clairsentientness, right? I have clairsentience. And so I feel, but I also have this inner knowing, which is claircognizance. And it's that claircognizance of knowing where to be and what to do and what to say in specific moments where I think all the miracles happen. And, I operate like that. And that's what I help a lot of people enhance, like turn on and activate and fine tune that particular ability, because it really helps. It really helps in the world.
Yeah, I have that, and it sometimes drives people crazy because I'll say we can't do that, and they go, why? No, we just can't do it, and I can't even tell them why.
Right.
I just
Right.
no, we're not gonna do it. It's just like, okay, because I've learned the hard way when I
Yeah.
don't listen to that, it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, and when I listen
Exactly.
to it, it really works out. So I
Exactly.
agree that probably is the most powerful. Um,
Or as a superpower for living, as a superpower for business interactions, for personal interactions, for achieving your goals.
mhm,
That's what I'm talking about when I say it's a superpower for life. It's
yeah,
those areas is what I'm specifically thinking of.
yeah. So you teach people how to fine tune and enhance their intuitive abilities. So what are some of the ways that you do that?
So these are actually practices that I suggest that they do. Okay. So you and I have talked about this on multiple occasions. The very first one is meditation.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And I believe wholeheartedly that theta brainwave level meditations are the most important for transformation and to really helping a person get into a balanced centered state. And it's a practice that I do every single day, have done for almost 30 years, every single day. And every time I come out of a meditation, that's a really deep level, I have insights. I have a to-do list. I have, some marching orders, some new ideas for products and programs and what I need to do to help this one person. And, it's like this information is coming from a higher place, but we have to take the time to create a container for
Yeah.
that. If we are always busy, busy, busy and constantly have on the radio or the television, or we're always on our cell phone and we never have silent time, we never have receiving time, we never have doing nothing. It can't be a two-way communication when we say we're doing prayer, so meditation is really powerful and important for physiological, psychological, spiritual, all kinds of reasons. It's really important. The next one is silence in nature.
Mm.
So sometimes when you're absolutely silent, best if you're alone, only if that's safe though, right? In nature. And if it's not safe to go by yourself wherever you live, then you take a friend or you take a group of people, and sometime during the time that you're together, you decide you're going to be in silence. And you can do that just walking on a hike. Everybody's in silence. Or what I like even better than just doing that, I would say in addition to that, is everybody sit down somewhere on a blanket, on a boulder. You want to be able to see the other people for the safety factor. But then you want to, go into your own state and just like notice nature. You can close your eyes if you want to and listen to the birds, or you can feel the ground underneath you or any of that. But you want to notice the squirrels and notice the birds and look at the grass in the tree and put your back against a tree and do all the things that connect you with nature. That one is really, really important, and it helps you ground. Grounding is also helpful, but that, that's not one of the 5 that I recommend, even though it's really powerful. It's not one of the top 5. The third one are exercises that specifically open up the energy channels in the body. Okay. And I know of at least 3, and I know there's more. Okay. Yoga sun salutations will do that. Right. So they're all body, mind, spirit practices, but they also move the energy through the channels and open up all the channels in the body. The meridians and the chakras and all of that get in alignment and balance. So yoga sun salutations are designed to do that. The 5 Tibetan rites are designed to do that. And Tai Chi and Qigong are designed to do that. Okay.
Acupuncture.
Okay. But this is something a person can do themselves. They can do these exercises. And so they, those 3 for sure, I know is a practice people can add into their daily routine. The 4th one is pendulum dowsing. Okay. Dowsing with the pendulum. And then the 5th one is working with energy healing tools. All right. So we already mentioned things like crystals. I have a bunch of them laying around. There's color, there's sound, there's all these different energy healing modalities. They're ways to lift your vibration. And when you're in a higher state of vibration, you're more intuitively, tuned in. And I also have products, like I have, these different energy healing products that I create that are energy healing in a bottle that were kind of like crystals. And there's many, many more, not just mine things, but lots of people have things. But those are the 5 that I highly recommend. And I know that's a lot for people, like going from not doing any of these things to trying to do 5. So my suggestion is you try one at a time. Like the first thing you do is like, just start meditating, just learn to meditate, go on YouTube, get her meditations, get my meditations, get meditations however you can.
Anybody's meditations.
Yeah, do some meditations, find the ones that work for you the best, right? Because I've written a best-selling book on all these different methodologies of meditating, and then find ones that work for you and then make it a daily practice. And when that's easy and that's no longer hard to remember to do, and it doesn't feel like it's arduous because I have to do this again, I have to build it into my schedule. When that's no longer true, when it's just like something you look forward to, then you add another one and then do the same thing until it's comfortable and easy and part of your normal day-to-day operation. And then you do the next, and then, and then you're doing all these practices, and your whole life is kind of run in a sacred way.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes a way of life, not something that you do because it's a habit or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I tell people another easy way to get started is just to burn some incense. That's really easy to do.
It is.
That's another one.
You just want to be careful what kind you get, because a lot of incense is rolled in petroleum, which is actually lowering vibration versus raising it. So yeah. So you just have to be super careful with that.
The same with candles. You got to get
absolutely
decent wick. Yeah.
Beeswax, just beeswax.
Just beeswax. Okay.
That's it. No other candles are okay, except the little kind that have batteries in them, and you use rechargeable batteries. I use those all the time.
Yeah, I have some of those.
Use them all the time. Well, I had this conversation with the angels. I was like, does it matter? Do I have to actually light a candle? Or can I, with intention, turn on this thing that looks like a candle? It's actually made of wax, and they're like, of course it's okay. And in certain situations, it's a lot safer to have these little things rather than a live flame that you're not, necessarily monitoring 24 hours a day. And yeah.
Yeah, mine even have a flicker setting.
Mine too. Mine flicker and
Look like they're
yeah.
real candles. Um, you and I both say that meditation is very important for everyone. What are some specific ways you have found that help different people meditate? I think, right,
Okay.
did we just cover that, or do you have
No,
more?
we did not. We did not. So this is from my best-selling book, Peering Through the Veil. Okay. And what I did is in the back of it, it's sort of like an afterthought. I was like, oh, I should share this with people because this is really a powerful insight that came to me in meditation one day. So especially when people are first getting started, they don't know which one to try, which kind of thing to try. And they don't know, there's a million ways to meditate. And so what I downloaded one day is that you base it as a way to start on your astrology and the element that your astrology is connected to. Okay, so I have a little list here. So earth signs are Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Air signs are Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. Fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And water signs are Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. So what I mean by connecting with the element is based on that list I just gave you, work with that element as your meditation. Okay, so I'm Pisces, so it's really easy for me to talk about water. I can sit by a stream and listen to water babbling over rocks or a waterfall or sit by the ocean with the waves going, and I am a meditative bliss and can do it for hours and hours and hours, and I am a happy little clam, right? But not everyone is connected to water like a Piscean. Some of us are drawn to all of these. Like all of these work for me. I'm sure all of these work for you, especially if you're drawn to shamanism and earth-based spirituality stuff. You are very connected to all of nature. And so all of these will work. But it's a great way to start with your sign, okay? And the element of that. So air signs like wind chimes, the sound of wind chimes. They like wind. They like to sit out and feel the breeze. It really does help them go into a more meditative state.
Yeah.
I have a friend who they were building their house in like in the desert somewhere in New Mexico. They were building their home and she was pregnant and she had a baby and they were living in a tent next to the house they were building because it wasn't quite ready yet. And it was a super, super windy day. So on windy days, this child who's now probably close to 30 years old, they live on a property that it's literally like a mile on their road. Like once you hit their driveway, it's like an hour, it's like a mile on a dirt road before you get to their house and all the rest of their property. And and he likes to get out and walk it if it's windy because he loves the wind because he was born in a windstorm, he's connected to the element anyway. So, so air signs like wind, they like wind chimes, they like high up. They like elevation. Okay. They like to be, on the top of something and they like to be on the top of a mountain or whatever, okay. So, earth signs like crystals. They like dirt. They like to do gardening. They like to put their hands in the soil. They like to sit on the earth. They like to sit on big boulders. And it's not just those people. Anybody can do that, right? And you just feel more connected. And then finally we have fire. And that's so easy. Look at a candle flickering. We talked about that just a minute ago, or a fireplace or a bonfire, or, outside around this, just watching the flames dancing and seeing the imagery that sometimes happens inside a flame. They've even got a phone app on certain, I think it's on all the phones now. I haven't checked it out in a long time, but you can get a flickering candle flame.
Oh, really?
As a phone app. So you can just sit there and stare at your phone and you get that same sensation. But it's a way to really, by connecting to the element, it helps your brain focus on something. And then it's easier to go into that deeper mind and to calm down and not have a million ideas going all at once, but then you can go into more silence. So yeah, that's one way to do what I'm talking about there.
Cool. That's interesting because my book is different ways to meditate, and it's based on the five elements.
Mm.
But I include ether. My first
Yes,
book
ether,
didn't have
absolutely.
ether, but it's
Yeah.
actually aether, I found
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
five.
No, because I'm so into alchemy, I totally know all about that. But it's just for this was the download. Was it about the element related to your sign? So
Cool. That's very powerful. So, what is the single most beneficial skill a person can learn when wanting to enhance their intuition?
this right here, if I can get this
Pendulum?
pendulum dowsing is, in my opinion, the fastest way to fine tune, enhance intuition. Because what it teaches you, I mean, first of all, they've done brainwave studies. And when you are, when you start to ask a question with a pendulum, you're moving the pendulum back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the moving back and forth actually forces your brain into a fight or flight. So it puts it into hyper awareness mode, which is
Mm-hmm.
not normal. It's not a normal place to be, but it helps you, it kind of opens some doorways into higher consciousness. And then you learn how to ask questions. And then using charts, I'm not into just yes, no, I'm into really deep chart dowsing, and it's kind of involved, but once you learn it, it like changes your life. um it's a really great tool. And what starts to happen once you've utilized it for a while and learned to ask great questions is you'll have a question, or you'll feel something to be true, and then the pendulum, the dowsing system, just becomes a way to verify what you're already feeling. So it gets you starting to realize that, oh, I really do know. I already know. This is just training wheels to get you there, really, But sometimes what comes in is still so profound, or I've never heard it anywhere else, that I still check the validity of it and show me the percentage of truth of what I just am writing here on my paper,
Yeah.
It's a great way to do that. In fact, do you know who Timothy Wiley is? Have you ever heard
Yeah.
of Timothy Wiley? Timothy is a very, very famous author. He's no longer on the planet. He's, transitioned. But I was at Timothy's house one day, and I wanted to tell him something that had happened, because I'm not often guided to do this. I mean, I teach my students to do this, but it's not something that I do it with every book that I read. But I was guided when I was reading some of Timothy's work. I was guided to actually douse the percentage of truth in that particular book. And I wanted to share with him that I had done that and the result that I got. So I did. When I was visiting him, I said, I was guided to douse your book. I forget which one it was. I think it was the first book in his 8-book series, which is the last series he wrote at the end of his life, all about the fallen angels.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed up 100% true. Now, there are almost no books on the planet that douse 100% true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most douse 50% true.
Oh, I've read some books that were so bad I threw them away.
Well, yeah, but if you kind of know, you don't even bother because you're afraid that what they're saying is going to taint your thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't even want to go, I don't want to go there. But so I told him, I was like, it doused 100% true. And I said, I have never seen that with a book. And he said, how did you know that I doused my books? And I was like, how could I possibly know that you doused your books? And he said, yeah. He said, I would write my books, and then I have a professional douser that I send them to, and they would go through the entire book. And if there was anything that wasn't exactly right, we would fix it until it was. And I was like, wow.
That's a good idea.
But then again, I had that inner knowing that I needed to share it with him, right? Like that's not a normal conversation you have with somebody.
No.
He let me know that he does that. And I would never, that conversation never would have happened if I hadn't been guided to douse it when I was reading it, months before I actually saw him. Anyway, it was just a cool conversation.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So what is the most profound life experience that came about through following your intuition?
I mean, I've had a lot,
Yeah.
but my most profound was ending up living on $1 million yacht in Fiji.
Oh, wow.
Intuition got me there, and nothing else would have, like, for real, nothing else would have got me there. So because I've meditated for almost 30 years, I don't have stray thoughts. I don't have a busy brain. I'm focused on what I'm doing in the moment. And I'm 100% fully focused on this project or this work I'm writing on, or whatever it is.
You're in the moment.
And when a random thought flits through my head, even the faintest, subtlest whisper of an idea, I stop everything and I follow that. Okay. So I had this whisper of an idea that just flitted through my head one day about a particular guy. And it's a guy he lived on San Juan Island when I lived there. I thought he was cute. Okay. We never dated. I thought he was cute. Anyway, but he had a gallery and he used to take these incredible photographs of orcas. And so he had a gallery of his art, on the island. And the fleeting thought was, I wonder what he's doing now. And I wonder if he ever became more famous. Like, was he now known on the mainland or around the world? Or, that was the thought. So I stopped everything and I did a Google search on his name. And I found him, and he had a Facebook page or, profile. So because I'm on Facebook a lot, I went over there, I asked to be his friend. And then I looked at some of his posts and discovered, he'd gotten married, where he lives now, things like that. And then I didn't think anything more about it. I closed Facebook up. I went back to the project I'd been working on. A few days later, I had another whim of a thought that flitted through my head. And it was about that guy. And it was like, the San Juan Islands, and San Juan Island itself is a very small place.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who live there year round. He lived there and I live there. So I bet there's people on his friends list that he knows that I know. So I go back to his profile and I go through his friends list and I'm like, oh, I remember her. And, I was having all these memories show up in my head. And I keep going down the list and I come across this name, and the name was Brian. And I broke into this massive grin. I was like, oh my God, it's Brian. I was so excited. Okay. And the reason I was excited is because Brian and I used to hang out a lot together when I lived on the islands. He was the port commissioner and he was a yacht broker. And he would call me sometimes, like on a Thursday evening or a Friday during the day. And he would say, how would you like to go to dinner? And I would just get this massive grin. And I would say, I would love to go to dinner, because dinner with Brian meant getting on a gorgeous yacht and traveling to another island and getting off and going to a meal. Right. So I got an epic boat ride if I hung out with Brian. Right. So in water is my happy place. Dolphins are my happy place. Orcas are my happy place. Like, there's nothing that brought me more joy than being on a boat, hanging out with Brian, telling stories and being silly. Right. And enjoying fabulous food. Yeah. So it brought up all those memories and all that emotion. And so I immediately contacted Brian and asked to be his friend. And he immediately started sending me emails, and he was in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. He had spent his entire life with one dream of having his own yacht that he was going to circumnavigate the entire globe in.
Oh, wow.
And he had just turned 60 and he was doing it. He was doing it. And oh my God, I was so happy when I heard that this friend of mine was living his dream. Because, I also teach manifesting. And so when people achieve their goals, it brings me joy, right?
Yeah.
So Brian was in Puerto Vallarta preparing his boat. It was $1 million yacht. He'd finally, made a lot of money and was about to start doing this thing. And he said, come down, join me for this trip. And I was like, gosh, that sounds fabulous. But, I have a kid. I couldn't do it. Okay. It just didn't feel right. And there was once upon a time when I had enough money and I had enough free time that I would have done it in a heartbeat. Yeah. Right. But I'm a mom now, and I have responsibilities and I have deadlines and I have all these things. I was like, yeah, okay, that's great. He started sending me dolphin pictures. He started enticing me with all these things. He would send me all these pictures. And then he started this, it was a whole armada, a bunch of boats all at once, leave in an armada and head out to the Pacific. And they don't see land he didn't see land for 17 days. I can't imagine.
17 days.
And I wouldn't want to just be out in open ocean for 17 days. Like, no. Thank you. No. Anyway, but as soon as he got to an island and got on Wi-Fi, he'd send me pictures and he'd invite me again. Jump on a plane, come visit, and it was like Bora Bora and Tahiti and all these places he was inviting me to. And it all sounded great. And I knew I wasn't going to do it. And so we were flirting and it was fun, but I knew I was going to say no every time. And he did too, I think. Anyway, one time he finally emailed me and he said, I really need your help. There's a couple on board who have to fly back to the US for some IRS thing. And this boat cannot be operated. You can't dock it with just me. I can't do it myself. You have to have some people on board. Yeah. And he's like, I need your help. I need you to come to Fiji and stay on board for about a month and fly back from Brisbane, Australia. And I got tears. And I was like, every fiber of my body wanted to do that, right? Every fiber of my being wanted to do that, which was a whole different feeling than all these other places, right? Because he'd been saying it and I was just joking and I was like, yeah, no, but thanks for asking. But when it was Fiji and when it was there, I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do this. And I wrote him back and I was like, Brian, I would love to, but I can't be gone a month. I have a kid. He goes, bring the kid.
Bring the kid, yeah.
Bring the kid. So I put my kid on a plane. We flew to Fiji. We stayed much longer than a month. We spent 3 weeks in just Fiji and we had many other countries to go to, right? But I ended up on $1 million yacht in Fiji in the South Pacific because I followed 2 intuitive hits that seemed to have nothing whatsoever to do with going to the tropics, right? That's how the magic works. You have a goal, you know what you want to do, but you follow the whims anyway, because you don't know how they're going to match up and the breadcrumbs are going to lead you to your goal. So that's definitely the most dramatic.
I could probably talk to you all day long.
And we are running. I know. We're like going on and on. I know.
So I understand you have a VIP gift for our listeners. So tell us about that.
So the gift that I have is a book, a little ebook called 7 Secrets to Discovering Your Inner Treasure. And that means your unique gifts and skills, your intuition, your purpose, your passion, and your joy. And I probably put those in the wrong order, but that's what it means. And it's going through the steps you need to go through to heal and grow and evolve and move up, and heal and grow and move up, heal and grow and evolve and move up, and like become more whole, become more healthy, become more happy, become more peaceful, really getting into alignment with who you are and understanding your passion and your purpose and your joy and all of that. So it's a lovely little book, and that's what I'm offering.
Nice. So for our YouTube listeners, the link will be down below. But for our podcast listeners, I'll tell you how to get the gift. So it's a standard web link, https://www. Now the part that's different is Magnificent You. So it's MAGNIFICENT and then the letter U, not YOU, just the letter U.com, then /gift. Right, and that will get you to that gift. So magnificentyou.com /gift. Wow, Takara, it's been really a joy talking to you. So do you have any final words for the audience?
Know that no matter what you're doing, no matter how you're feeling, no matter if you're struggling or you're flowing, mm-hmm. It always gets better, and you continue to evolve, and the magic even opens up even more, and the miraculous things get even more profound. Like it never ends. There's people who their heyday was what they did on the football field in high school, but that's not how the spiritual path works. It's not like the greatest thing you ever did was back there. It's still in your future. It's still coming. So you just continue to grow and evolve, have fun, remember to smile, remember whatever it is, this too shall pass, right?
Yeah.
And just continue and just know that the universe has your back, and even greater things than these shall ye do.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this talk. And thank you all for listening. Remember to be the light you want to see in the world. Bye.